Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to all of you, distinguished guests, Pak Menteri Rudiantara, and all distinguished colleagues in here. And the most important is for the graduates of the Apple Developer Academy. Congratulations. First of all, I would like to thanks for Apple Developer Academy for inviting me to give speech for this important event for all of you, but also for Indonesia. This is really a good symbolic event that telling that Indonesia is very keen to prepare ourselves to become an economy, a country which is not only following as well as enjoying the revolution industry 4.0, but we want to become a player, an important player in the world. So you are all is becoming a player of this industrial 4.0 era. Congratulations to all of you. I'm sure you are inviting me in my capacity as finance minister. So as I'm doing my job, I have to explain about where the policy of fiscal as well as our budget to go. That is justify how I'm doing my trip here in Serpong. As you all know that the Indonesia economy, we just closed 2018 not long ago, 3 months ago, and it was not an easy time for all of us. 2018 was actually a year for many developing emerging countries as not an easy time. It is also affecting a lot of policy for many developing country, emerging country. One which is very notable is of course the global environment. First, the year of low interest rate is gone. At least now with the Federal Reserve increasing interest rate, it's affecting also for a country like us. Indonesia, Central Bank in Indonesia, Bank Indonesia have to increase 7 times interest rate in order for us to withstand those policy adopted by the Federal Reserve of the United States. The second one, the outlook of the economy is also a little bit weaker. This is the projection made by all institutions like OECD, IMF, World Bank, showing that the global economic growth in 2018 and then followed by 2019 is weaker. Initially 3.9%, revised down to 3.7%, and then now even revised even lower into 3.5%. With the global trade, which is also still continue very weak, which is growing around 4%. This is the environment in which we operate. At the same time, the global trade environment, especially because of the trade tension between major countries, is also affecting the confidence of the economy. So for a country like Indonesia, we have to make sure that we will continue our momentum of growth using all our policy and instruments in order for us to be able not only withstand the shock of changing environment, but making sure that we are addressing the issue which is structurally important for our countries. What is the most important for Indonesian economy to be able to be very productive or continue increasing productivity, to be innovative, to be able to use our most important asset, that is human capital. This is all the policy which is taking all the time of President as well as the cabinet. We are thinking very hard to make sure that Indonesia is not just adjusting, or in this case have to adopt and adapt with the global environment which is changing very fast, whether this is on the economy, geopolitics, trade, but also on the technology. But we want to make sure that Indonesia will be able to become one of the important players in the world. And this is not an easy task. How we are going to do that? I think from the policy point of view, we want to make sure that all elements which is important for the country, for the economy, to be able to become a player should be there. What is that? Infrastructure is one. Indonesia is a big country. This is not only Jakarta and Serpong, but Indonesia is Java Island, Sumatra, Kalimantan, Sulawesi, Papua, Maluku, Nusa Tenggara, Bali, and all 17,000 islands in Indonesia. To make sure that all people in Indonesia have the same opportunity, connectedness is becoming very important. It's not only among us as a people to people, but also between Indonesia with the rest of the world. And that's why the government is also investing in an infrastructure. This is not a hobby of President Jokowi. This is something which is mandatory and needed for this country to be able to really translate the idea of unity and diversity into reality. When we talk about Indonesia as a big country, 257 million people, and we are all recognized that it is a very diverse country, but we are all agreed and also continue commit to this unity, then those ideas need to be maintained, nurtured, and strengthened. It's not only through the idea about, diversity, unity, and diversity is important, but we really have to make sure that the whole infrastructure is going to support those ideas. And that's why infrastructure that we built, and I'm sure Pak Rudiantara has already mentioned earlier, that we are building infrastructure from road, port, airport, as well as the toll in the air, we call it the tol langit in Indonesia, is actually to make sure that we are not going to differentiate between the population live in Jakarta, which is maybe with a better infrastructure facility, with those who live in Aceh, those who live in Kalimantan, those who live in Sulawesi, Papua, and other places in Indonesia. And will be continued. Fiscal policy is supporting those missions. How we build infrastructure so that we are going to be able to become connected within and without in Indonesia. And how we use our fiscal tools in this case is not through spending fully through budget on building infrastructure, but we also diversify our instrument. So public-private partnership, how we structure so that we are going to invite more players to be able to help Indonesia build good quality of infrastructure for Indonesia now and the future. The second foundation for Indonesia to be able to become a player in the Industrial 4.0 and the global economy and global geopolitics is the human capital. And this is very important. It is very important, it's very popular, it's easy to say, it's very difficult to be done. Our fiscal policy in supporting the need and the importance of human capital is reflecting in the budget. The allocation of our budget for human capital, whether this is in the form of education, health, social safety net, is very, very big. But the Indonesian issue is more on how you execute. So this is not about the political intention. This is not about political determination. But this is not about the budget choice. But this is about how you are going to make sure that every penny, every rupiah we spend on the human capital is going to be translated into a real quality of human capital of Indonesia. And education spend 20% of our budget, health 5%. We are also addressing the issue of those who still left behind, those from poor family and those which is actually live in the outer island. But Indonesia is still relatively new in the idea of building the human capital in a more robust, sustainable, and inclusive way. Look at our education. Our education system, which is cost 20%, still not adequate. We even may be disappointed because some of the graduates is not even up to the level that we expected. If you look at the PISA score in Indonesia on a 3 very important scale, that is reading, science, and language, science, math, and reading, we are still actually behind from the ASEAN country, although we've already spent 20% of our budget for education for almost 10 years now. And that's why this is the issue about how we should design this human capital development. Health is the same. 5% including the objective of President to create universal health coverage. United States, where Apple belongs, is not even there. But President Jokowi want to have a universal health coverage, and we are still having a hiccup in terms of how we are going to achieve those goals. This is not about the populace that everybody will get a free health services, but this is about how you are going to prepare Indonesia younger demographic population that they are going to stay healthy, they are going to have an access on education, and they have the ability to compete not only Indonesia but also globally. So we have a good problem. That is, there is a problem. We have a political intention. We have a budget, but we still have to solve the problem how to use it properly and effectively. And that's why I actually touched this issue on this today, to come and to say hi and to congratulate to you. You 100, is it 69 or 160? 200. Oh, it's 200. In my brief, it's 100 something, 60. Okay, 200. So maybe 40 is coming from somewhere. 200 graduates of the Apple Development Institute. You are representing what is the journey of Indonesia to prepare human capital in the best possible way. It is a changing environment. The way we educate, the way we are going to provide health services, the way we are going to design social safety net for Indonesia, so make sure that Indonesian people, Indonesian children, especially coming from poor family, they are not going to be left behind and become only just a watcher. I'm sure that many of you who's trained for 9 months is going to come up with all the good apps, which is going to be over. And maybe I also see here many of the company which is already looking at you, eyeing on what you're doing, and maybe they've already asking your phone number and asking whether you are interested to join their company. You are among a very few elite in Indonesia who enjoy that position. Congratulations for that. But I actually, at the same time, while you are very proud of what you achieved, I want you to be also continue connected with your country, with where you live, with where you belong. That is Indonesia and this world. I do hope that with your experience skill, you are going to be able to come up with all application which is important and can become part of the solution of what this country is aiming for. The journey to develop ourselves, to prepare ourselves to become a country that not only watching the changing global environment, but we will participate, we will become a player, we will continue also shaping the change itself. And looking at this room, with many of you here, I'm very optimistic. But you are, as I said, you are on the top 1% or 5% of what you call it the quality of human capital in Indonesia. Your job is not only my job, Pak Rudiantara job, Pak Jokowi job, but your job is to help the rest of 95% to be able that they are going to also equip with them. Your thinking, the way that you are going to continue your journey, your ability to use your skill, your intellectual, is going to be very important. I'm not saying that you should become a finance minister. Maybe one of you is going to be finance minister. But in any position that you have, just make sure that you are part of the society. You know, you are aware, and you are connected with the society in which you belong. And with that, I think Indonesia will have all what we call it necessary condition to make a progress. Infrastructure, human capital, which is continue developing, the country now spending more and more money for vocational training. This Apple Development Institute is become one of the model that we will look and see whether this is one of the choices in Indonesia. A lot of Indonesia youth, they want to continue and pursue their professional career. Whether you are going to become a programmer, whether you are going to become a professional in other area, whether you are become a chef, you want to become finance minister. I never see any children that I ask in Indonesia, what do you want to be? No one saying that they want to become finance minister. It was a bit disappointing. I asked, and many of them, they want to become a policeman, they want to become a teacher, programmer, YouTuber, whatever. But no one want to become finance ministers. So I'm obsessed. Maybe I'm going to become a YouTuber first so that I can inspire people. But whatever the professional career that you are going to choose, I think you also have a social responsibility. And the government is preparing the foundation for it. But the government is not going to solve all the problem. The solution is on the people. So we are going to build the necessary condition like infrastructure, human capital spending, but in that we will invite you all to continue improving our quality of spending, the design of education, the design of the health services, the design of social safety net. We also improving our institution and regulatory framework. President even asking all the ministers in the last cabinet meeting, he wants us to inventorize any regulation policy that hampering, creating an obstacle for the economy to grow, to thrive. That is hampering, creating an obstacle for many people in Indonesia, the genius, semi-genius, intellect, everyone to thrive. So we are now very busy in identifying counterintuitive, because usually the bureaucracy and the ministry, they love to make regulation. That is their job. They think this is like their KPI. You know? And now they are asked to identify what regulation in any level that you just make other people miserable. So this is something which is very refreshing coming from President Jokowi, always obsessed that he wants to create doing business which is simple, doing business which is fair, open, and equal for all. And for us, this is the job that we need to do because we know that this is important for Indonesia. So I would like to close by saying that the government is going to continue what we are doing, that is preparing what is the necessary condition for Indonesia to become a great country. It's not great again, but great country. Right? It's just a great country. And that means all of you need to also participate. We will build infrastructure, we will continue commit to our human capital development, we will continue to improve the quality of institution and bureaucracy, and we want to make sure that the good governance and the clean governance is going to be in place. I think these are all the promise as well as the commitment and also the policy action that we are doing. And I do hope that we are going to be able to partner with many of you in your future endeavor. Again, congratulations to all of you, the graduates, as well as the Apple Development Institute. Congratulations for a very good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Ibu Sri Mulyani.